Are you sick of Rolex fanboys getting in every forum and discussion and saying, Tudor will never be as good as Rolex? Yeah, me too. That's why I made this.
Today, we're going to talk about the Tudor watch brand.
Tudor is just a poor man's Rolex.
I don't think this is true anymore. In fact, I might even argue that Tudor has become what Rolex is trying to be, a true tool watch.
There's a common misconception that Tudor is some kind of cut-price Rolex cover band. While the brand is substantially cheaper, its ties to Rolex are more than skin deep.
And they are both owned by the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation.
For some years now, I've been considering the idea of making a watch that our agents could sell at a more modest price than our Rolex watches, and yet one that would attain the dependability for which Rolex is famous.
I decided to form a separate company which is the subject of making and marketing this new watch. It's called the Tudor Watch Company.
But now this brings us to examining Tudor from a more modern context of the last 10 years. In this timeline, this is where the idea of Tudor as, say, a cheaper Rolex begins to be a little less straightforward in my eyes.
Approachable alternative to a Rolex Oyster. Rolex has the date only ever made in precious metal, yellow gold, white gold, platinum, rose gold, and then this is the Tudor date day.
This really was an affordable alternative, as pitched by Wilsdorf himself.
And Hans Wilsdorf specifically established Tudor as a means to offer the same legendary durability of his flagship brand to a wider range of buyers.
Even Rolex's iconic Submariner was given the Tudor treatment. Cleverly, this meant Rolex founder Hans Wilsdorf could sell his Submariner to international armed forces, despite having an exclusive contract with the British MOD for the Rolex.
Despite the numerous differences, the greatest factor separating Rolex from Tudor is price.
Tudor or Rolex, or Tudor versus Rolex. I think it is not really much that. It more is Tudor and Rolex. I don't think it's a crazy thing to say that many people that love Rolex also love Tudor.
Rolex ownership was opened up to a younger, thriftier audience.
In terms of functionality, the two brands have never been closer than they are today.
Today, Tudor is no longer seen as Rolex's second fiddle, and its watches are seen as good options to their parent companies.
It's a bit of a funky look.
It is.
Look, you have to hand it to Tudor. They've really focused on great dials, great value. If there was ever a brand that could encroach on a Rolex,
Yes.
it would be Tudor.
However, when it comes to real-world performance, the differences separating these two iconic companies is far less noticeable. And a significant number of buyers actually prefer Tudor watches simply due to their lower price and greater availability.
It's found a price point sub $5,000.
Yep. 3 to 5 is usually where they play mostly.
So they're stealing share from a bunch of people that were also in that space. This is not the poor man's Rolex anymore.
It's not.
Regardless of whether you buy a Rolex or a Tudor, you will be getting a fantastic luxury timepiece from one of the world's top manufacturers.
And if you do look at the last 10 years as an example for Tudor, and you have a real affinity for, say, mid-20th century Rolex and their ascension and what they were doing, I think a lot of the practices that were happening in that era are happening in a lot of ways with Tudor.
If Tudor is everything that the Rolex is, but cheaper, why would I even consider it? I mean, like, I am saving up to almost 4 times the amount. Both watches have exceptional build quality.
I will start off by saying I think Tudor makes pretty good watches, high quality, at a very fair price point. But I do believe the brand has a lot of hype, and that is due to their association with Rolex. Why do dealers love it? Because they're easy to sell, me included. I sell a ton of Tudor. Why do YouTubers like it? Well, because they can buy a Rolex for a cut down price. In their mind, they associate the two because their headquarters are in the same building. They're the same thing, and guess what? They're actually very similar. I just think Rolex is massively overpriced, whereas Tudor is priced fairly. I don't actually see a major difference between Rolex and Tudor, apart from the ridiculous price on Rolex.
And I've seen a few people saying, I guess Tudor's a homage brand now. Also, can you homage yourself?
2013, the Black Bay actually won the Grand Prix de Horologie in Geneva, and also the Pelagos went on to win the Sports Watch Prize in 2015.
So build quality, I'd say the Tudor has it up on the Rolex. It feels absolutely rock solid. It's not going anywhere. Your wrist is going to fall off before that watch falls off. It doesn't matter whether you go for the Black Bay or you go for the Rolex. they're both amazing watches, and so it's just go with whichever one you feel the bigger connection with, really.
And also, can we just say, if you own a Tudor, you're not poor.